All right, new time slot. Same quality product. Putting all the pressure on Barker. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. And Sportsnet taking you up to 6 o'clock. Blue Jays baseball at 7. The Jays looking to win a series with a victory over the Chicago White Sox.
Forgot them brooms, buddy.
Oh,
it's time.
But before you get the broom out, you got to win the series. You got to win the second game before you can win the third game. That is the way it works.
Bo's hot, Vladdy's hot. You say Kikuchi's throwing. What can go wrong?
The Jays lineup is out, and it looks surprisingly familiar to yesterday's lineup, although Justin Turner is at first base, and Vladdy is DHing today, but Ernie Clement's at third base as well, but it's the same at the top for the most part. Danny Jansen hitting second. Davis Schneider leading off, and then Guerrero and Bichette. And I guess if you're obviously if you're John Schneider, why change it after you've scored 9 runs?
Yeah, Crochet likes he likes throwing the fastball. Get it ready. Like he throws really hard, and he attacks his zone. He don't throw a ton of balls. You're gonna know that going into the batter's box that you be ready to swing in your quadrant. You're probably gonna get it. If you take his good one, sooner or later he's gonna hang one or throw you one down the middle, something you can drive. So just have that kind of at bat. You have that. Because now it just seems like John sort of made the right moves at the right time, putting the right names in the right spots. I like Ernie at the bottom of the order. Is he hitting at the bottom of the order? I'm assuming he is. Yeah, he likes the fastball. You fill in the blanks with dudes who, like to attack the pitcher's strength. So, yeah, this is what I said. This is time. The White Sox not a real good team. And the Blue Jays can get healthier, get confident, have a little faith in what they're doing off the field, translating to on the field. Hopefully you see that today.
This is the Blue Jays lineup. Go through it 1 to 9. Schneider in left. Jansen is catching. Guerrero, I already mentioned, is DHing. Bichette at short. Turner at first. Springer in right, hitting 6th. Dalton Varsho in center. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is at second base, and Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement is at third base. And, don't look now, just looking, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got that average up to 286. You'd still like to see a little more extra. You see a lot more, frankly, a lot more.
Averaging a homer a month.
Pop, right.
Needs to get a little better.
That needs to get a little better. But again, at least you're starting to see some. You're starting to see some life out of him and Bo.
He's taking the pitches he should be taking. He's hammering the pitches that everybody's watching on TV going, man, he should have hammered that. He's actually doing it. So that'd tell you mechanically and mentally it's sort of connected, and he's got a decent approach at the plate. I just like the way he's moved off the plate a little bit. He's not chasing the ball in as much. When's the last time you saw him hit a ground ball at third? That's a plus, right?
That'll tell
you.
A sign.
Well, that'll tell you it's free and easy. He's not chasing pitches he shouldn't be chasing, and he's getting a few more pitches that he can get barreled to and make contact out in front of the front leg. Like, that's what it's all about, is the more contact he makes out in front of the leg, the better chance he's got of hitting the ball hard. And hopefully, he can start getting a little bit better extension, getting that thing in the air and maybe, cracking some concrete in left center and right center. That'd be nice.
Do you buy into that whole idea that eventually the balls that are smoked on the ground for singles or smoked to the gap for doubles, that they will eventually somehow magically become home runs? Do you buy into that necessarily?
Yeah, I know home runs are they come in bunches. I think he sort of went through it. Like I think watching the guy that plays in Boston, third base for them, he's made some drastic changes to his lower half, right? He was more of a squared up guy when he first got to the big leagues. Now he's starting to open up a lot. Like that front foot is almost out of the batter's box. That seems to me like, now I've never talked to him, but boy, it sure seems to me like that's freed him up. That's allowed him to not land closed, right? As hard as they throw, you got to sort of beat them to the spot. Sometimes it's hard to do that consistently if you close yourself off. What's Vladdy do? I mean, his first move is to close his front side. Like, I think once you start seeing sort of the graduation and just buying into how do I get it to the next level? Like, it's nice that I hit a 114-mile-an-hour line drive to right field for a single. But, boy, that'd be nice if I catch that a little further out front and let it travel a little bit more, create some backspin. I don't have to change anything with my hand path or where my barrel's going. It's just what your lower half's doing. And I say that back leg city a lot. That's what a lot of guys do, right? They have a little bit more 60-40 than 50-50. They're just trying to create a little loft with the barrel, get under the baseball, get it spinning, and then you just sort of want to throw it in the air and have it end up where you want it to end up. And a lot of that times is where somebody can't catch it. So, yeah, look, I don't know how you change it now, Jeff. Like, what are you going to do? Walk up to him and go, hey, dude, you're hitting 400, but we'd like to, have you make some changes. I think they're too far removed from that. So, it is what it is. Hopefully, maybe he could occasionally go up and sit curveball. Curveball's a little easier for him to catch out front, create backspin, get it to the pull side, not even talking to the left fielder. Even more left center, right? He's not much of a dead pull guy. He's more of a big part of the field guy. And if he could just catch that curveball a little out front or that slider a little out front, maybe he's got to look for that. And mechanically, he can catch it out front, creates a backspin. So, yeah, I know it's somewhat a little confusing that he's averaging about a homer a month. That's not a lot. So hopefully he can turn the corner here and feeding off of Bo will help. I'm sure Bo wasn't doing well. Vladdy had a lot of pressure on himself to try and carry the load, vice versa. So maybe if they both get hot at the same time, it's just free and easy. You go out there, see ball, hit ball, and they have tons of talent and great things are going to happen. So fingers crossed if you're a Jays fan, that's going to take place here in the next week or so.
You worried about Justin Turner?
Absolutely. I 6 for 61, you should be worried. I mean, that's what he is. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of him being sick, a combination of him getting a little older, combination of him having a career year last year, trying to duplicate that's not the easiest thing to do. And the Khakis found out that he likes the ball down because he can create loft with that. He's trying to catch it out front with an uppercut in his swing. Like, when you do that, they're going to go, okay, we see what you're trying to do. Now we're going to add, we're going to elevate, we're going to crowd you because you kick it to your ear and you do have a little windmill with your elbows trying to create loft, catching it out front. Let's see you do it on a ball that's at your belt or a little above your belt. And, we've seen him try and make some adjustments, step in the bucket, open up, beat the guy to the spot. But most of these guys are super, like this guy, not this 97. Like, hey, you beating that to the spot? Like, that's tough. So,
a 13-inning scoreless streak coming in. He has been.
He's got a really good slider too.
He's got a really good slider.
He ain't afraid to throw the heater. He's gonna get after you with the fastball. I would think Justin's been around long enough to know, don't swing at it. Like, that's sort of your kryptonite right now. Is that sort of one little window at some velocity? Try to lay off of it. If they throw you 3 in there and that guy behind the plate calls them strikes, tip your hat and say, I'll get you next time. That would be what I would recommend. But that's easier said than done, right? When that's how they're trying to get you out, it's very hard to lay off of. Anything close to your eyes is very hard. Like that north and south stuff, I went through it. A lot of the guys, David Schneider goes through it. Like, it's not the easiest thing to lay off of, but he's been around long enough to know that this is how they're trying to get him out. And hopefully you're getting better counts. You're getting some counts that you can hunt balls down, catch those things out front. They're going to need him to be better. Like 6 for 61 ain't going to get it done. So hopefully, again, he's healthy enough. He's not sick anymore. Doesn't seem that way because he's playing. We'll take everybody's word for it. When you're in the lineup, you're not sick. So now hopefully he can get back in a groove, get his timing back, catch some balls out front, and hit some homers for this team. His team needs him to hit some 3-run homers. They really, really do, especially now that Bo and Vladdy are starting to get hot and stay hot like this. So traffic and homers, that's what we're rooting for.
Gordon Beckham is the White Sox analyst. He will join us at 5:30. We'll take a deeper look at Garrett Crochet and talk about the White Sox. Their worst 48-game start in franchise history.
Not a good team.
They'd be 21 under 500 today. With a loss, Shi Davidi, MLB columnist and reporter with Sportsnet, he will be along. live from the Rogers Center. And at 4:30, Trevor May, former MLB pitcher, a co-host of the Rates and Barrels podcast and Foul Territory, will join us as well. A lot to
got two
talk
podcasts?
Yeah, he's got two.
That's pretty cool.
Busy man.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Chris Sale's resurgence. We've got to talk about something that happened last night, or yesterday, I should say. Sonny Gray taking himself out of the game.
That's surprising
against
to you?
Baltimore.
You act like that's surprising to you.
I don't know the backstory of it. Anytime a pitcher motions for the manager, here's the thing. Of course, afterwards, Sonny Gray just said, "I
emptied the tank.
There was nothing left. Like it was the right. It was the right.
Oh, he's been paid. It's easy for him to say that, right?
Yeah. And you know, all we talk about is you want to be honest, etc. My thought on this, though, is that you've got a pitching coach and you've got a manager, and considering how much data everybody has, I think it's a bad look for the manager and the pitching coach to be called. My first reaction is, what, are you guys not noticing something? What is this? Is it a surprise to you?
Now, he's been around forever. He's got they gave him a deal. So you got to remember that, right? He's going to get a longer leash than some other guys.
Of course. But my point is, that shouldn't come as a surprise to the manager, pitching coach. And it did come as a surprise to them. Otherwise, they would have gone out and gotten it. But we'll talk to Trevor May about that. But no, I mean, you know yourself better than anybody else.
It's 2024 for me, right? It's go out there and let it eat for as long as you can.
Now, the other thing we'll talk to Trevor about as well. We've got a lot of stuff we want to talk about. But Buster Olney had a story today that's getting a little bit of traction about Josh Hader, the Houston Astros closer, who very quietly, he had a self-imposed. A lot of people were wondering, why is Josh Hader only a one-inning guy? Why is he only a one-inning guy? Why is managers reluctant to do it? Well, because he wouldn't do it. He and his agent, as they were going through the arbitration process, they lost a hearing to the Brewers. He said, all right, fine. I'm only a one-inning guy.
Like the Padres, too, right? When he's
the Padres, I'm a one-inning guy.
Yeah.
You want to play that game? I'm a one-inning guy. So he signs with the Houston Astros, and all of a sudden the other day he's coming up for the second inning. So the story is, hey, he said, till somebody gave me a multi-year contract, I was going to take care of myself. Houston gave me a multi-year contract. Guess what? Here I am. I'm whatever you want me to do.
It's amazing when you get paid how it just frees everything up.
But it's interesting.
Did it remind you of Bo Vladdy?
Well.
I did, didn't it?
I've also got to talk to Trevor about Aaron Judge. He's heating up. And again, Chris Sale with Chris Sale. Where the hell did that come from? Chris Sale looks like he's turned back the clock.
Yeah, I think he's always been a really, really good. He's been a really, really good pitcher.
He has been.
It's just when he's healthy, it's like that's the hard part, right? Mechanically sound, he's not. Right? He's flinging that thing from all different, and it's very hard. I'm assuming that with his body type and where he releases the baseball can't be the easiest on just parts of the body. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's awesome when he's healthy to watch that. He dominates people.
Yusei Kikuchi gets a start for the Blue Jays tonight. He is, of course, 2-3 with a 2.60 ERA. He's having an awfully good year. Again, he and José Berríos. Well, this Jays starting rotation in particular seems to have kind of found its footing finally, and knock on wood.
Seventh in baseball in quality starts.
Yeah, knock on wood seems to be
doing their part.
Seems to be staying healthy, and with Alek Manoah looking the way he looks. I mean, there's so many opportunities for this organization, depending on where they want to go. What are you expecting from Yusei Kikuchi tonight? What does he have to do? What does he have to do to keep this going?
Well, 64% throwing strike one. That's a career high. He's got 5 quality starts out of the 9 starts he's made. His strike percentage has went way up. His pitches per innings have went way down. It's in the 15 mark, which if I would have told you that a year and a half ago, you'd have laughed at me. Pitches per plate appearance are in the high 3s. Like, he's getting after people, and it starts with that strike one, right? I think he can do it. He's unpredictable with it. He can flip the slow one. He can backdoor the slider to a righty. Like, he's manipulating enough with the fingers with the off-speed stuff to be unpredictable, with that it's hard to stand on the on-deck circle and go, okay, I know you throw 96-ish. I'm going to sit on that. And then he flips that thing and he gets ahead of you, and now you're on the defense, all right? It's sort of him being mechanically sound enough and having enough confidence just to flip that thing in there, outer third, inner third, and can steal something and occasionally throw his changeup. It's a combination of a bunch of things, right? We went through this with just what he's bought into mechanically and making those changes, simplifying it to where I want the same release point all the time. If I want to throw only 3 pitches, I'll at least want to do it, have all 3 of them look the same, but I want my velocity on my fastball to always be at the highest level it can possibly be. It's never been higher. Like, this is the highest it's ever been. It's almost 97 miles an hour. Yeah. So, yeah, to have the velocity on the fastball, which puts it in the mind of that dude on the on-deck circle saying, boy, I got to get this thing geared up. And then having the 82, 83 mile an hour breaking ball that he can throw for strikes and he's keeping down, which will tell you his mechanics are on point. He's getting it out front. All 3 pitches look the same. It basically is, if he's got the strike one in him, which that 64% is a lot. League average is 60%. So he's over that, right? He's been more of a thrower than a pitcher. Now, all of a sudden, he's put all of these things together. He's adding power, pitching, and sort of that, element of surprise with the 2 secondary pitches all together, and now he's turned into this kind of thing. And we talk about if Alek Manoah continues to do these things, he might be the one guy you might want to try and, find you somebody who is in.
Well, if you're not going to resign, not going to resign,
how would you get rid of it? I mean, Jeff, that don't grow on trees. Like, you're looking for a guy
He's a Boris
in your lineup that's probably in that, say, top 30 in total bases. He'd get you that? Or is it more valuable to you to say, hey, I know we get, what they give him, 3 for 36. You give him that again?
I mean, he wouldn't take it.
Well, he should. I mean, he's 30. He'll be 33 next year. He ain't going to get much more than that.
Well, he's going to.
He ain't going to. I mean, I know what his agent's going to ask. He ain't going to get that.
Well, he's going to want more than he's making this year. You don't have a great year, possibly a career year, and sign for the same amount of money you're making now.
Yeah, we'll see.
You just don't. So,
what would you do if you were the Blue Jays?
I would trade him because I don't think you have any chance. Now, I'm not saying I'd trade him right now, but the thing is, you're not in. Unless unless there is some indication that he wants to sign here and you've made some sort of groundwork trying to get him signed here, I can't come into 2025 with somebody like Justin Turner as my big offseason addition. I can't go into Bo and Vladdy's final year if they're still here with somebody like that. You need to trade Yusei Kikuchi. If you're going to trade him, you need to get somebody who's going to be around here for a couple of years. And again, that's going to be tough because as good as he is, whoever acquires him is only acquiring him for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I would think you would probably get more for him if you were trading him now than you would at the trade deadline, because if you trade him now, you're giving the acquiring team an extra, I don't know how many, 10 starts with him.
Yep.
But if you do that, given sort of the vibe around this team right now,
teammates love it.
Even if Alek Manoah has 2 more strong starts, and you can say, hey, we need to add a bat. Alek Manoah's back. We're going to lose this guy anyhow. It would be a tough sell to an already skeptical fan base, because I think a lot of people would take that as the one thing you do really well is pitch, and you're getting rid of a guy who
is one of your better ones.
Is really good.
Yep.
Let's see what Alek Manoah does in his next couple of starts. But if he is back, it's an easier sell than if Alek Manoah wasn't back and you were trading him and filling in with Pablo Espino or somebody like that.
It would help if you get what you want, right? Like a guy that has top 30 total base in him, right? Like those don't grow on trees, like a Ryan McMahon. That wouldn't make a ton of sense for the Rockies. What are they going to do with that? Like
Colorado's not going to give
it would make no sense. But I'm talking about a guy like that, right? And could you get that trading Yusei Kikuchi? If not, it makes no sense, right? Filling in the blanks with another Kevin Barker, what's that going to do? Like, really, they got enough of those. Like, they need somebody who can change the game with one swing.
Well, I don't think Yusei Kikuchi gets you that.
Then you just answered the question.
But
you just answered the question.
If I can get something for him that helps me next year, that's better than just taking the draft pick or getting nothing. It depends a lot on Alek Manoah. They can't. I don't think anyhow that you can let Kikuchi, Jansen, Romano,
Garcia,
Vladdy, Bo, and Garcia. I just don't think you can let these guys go and get nothing in return.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't think you can do that. I think you, and it's kind of the beauty of the wild card era, providing you have a general manager who knows how to sell it to people. You can always, there is that element of we are retooling, but we're not throwing in the towel on the season. And teams have done that.
Yeah,
teams have done that.
Yep.
But I don't know if Ross Atkins can make that case. I don't know if he can make it to me, let alone the fans.
Boy, they've wasted some really good pitching, Jeff. Like offensively, if the offense was anywhere near what the rotation's like, I mean, they'd be one of the better teams in baseball.
I mean, this is
at least the American League.
This to me is the frustrating thing.
It is very frustrating.
We have not seen starting pitching like this in years.
Like, it's predictable. Like, every game you're thinking,
this is better.
It's a quality start. I mean, they're giving it to you.
This is better than Estrada, Stroman, Sanchez when he was having his good year, and Mark Burley and all that. This is better than that.
Yeah.
You got to go back to, I mean, maybe Roy Howe. You got to go back to Escobar and all those guys,
yeah.
I think, to really to
come up
with a rotation.
It really is.
That is this good. And again, I'm knocking on wood, for the most part, has stayed healthy. That's the other thing here that I don't think we make a big enough deal about, is how good the starting pitching was last year and how healthy it was. That's not something every organization is able to say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, give them credit for that, for sure.
And that's why I think in a lot of ways the last two off seasons have been hugely disappointing, because you haven't gone out and supported your starting pitching with the type of offense you need to succeed. And you can do it. When you look at the way this team is built, you can basically do it, I think, without sacrificing a great deal of run prevention.
Well, you had it here already. You already had it here.
Yeah.
You did, like, it's just, it is a shame. Like, you watch these dudes take the bump every day. It's crazy.
Teoscar DHing and leave everything else.
Well, you drop that 11 and 40 right in the middle of this order. Takes pressure off everybody around him. That's the point. I mean, it's not always the point of having Teoscar here DHing. It's the point of what he would do helping everybody else around.
But the thing is, there is a way of improving your run prevention without necessarily having to geld your lineup, is what I'm saying. Well, I just said that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could have had him in here. You could have had him in here to DH and saved yourself Brandon Belt and Justin Turner.
Well, you're good, Jeff.
I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, we'll see where I do know that Alek Manoah's got our attention now.
Oh.
And that's at some point you need to make a major move with this team. I don't think we're even talking about this year. I think we're talking over the next couple of years. You got to set up whatever your next window is. And if it helps keep this window open for another year, that's great.
Yep.
But you got to set up something for Vladdy's last year, Bo's last year, or life after.
What would make you think they're capable of doing that? They haven't done it the last two off seasons. What would make you think they can do it now?
Well, I mean, I don't know how they had a Kikuchi pitching this well to trade in the offseason. What did they have?
You knew the rotation. The rotation was predictable. If it was healthy, you knew what you were going to get.
No,
you did.
You did not know with Alek Manoah. No, you
Well,
didn't.
no, I'm talking the first four. Not too many guys. Not too many teams have 5 guys.
But you're asking me. What would
the
they?
Manoah thing was a plus.
What would they have done in the offseason any different?
Yeah, I'm not talking about the rotation. I'm not talking about pitching. I'm talking about the offense. Well, you knew the offense when they were selling the Bo with the Vladdy,
right, well,
the core.
But Kevin, what do you have to trade?
Well, I mean, that's how you get creative. I mean, there's how many smart people are running this thing? Like it's
really
that they're well. I mean, that's what they're trying to sell to you, right? Is anyhow. You know, we got a grip on this, and we believe in the core and the coaches.
Man, they won 2 in a row, and all we've done is spend 10 minutes talking about trades.
No, that's because you could
because I opened the door.
Look, you can close your eyes and dream if you stick not an aircraft carrier, just somebody that can run into one against a good pitcher. How good this team could be. The way they play defense, the IQ, the pitching, the pitching they're going to get back at the back end of the bullpen.
Trevor May is a former MLB pitcher. He's co-host of the Rates and Barrels podcast. He's also on Foul Territory. He's got a YouTube channel, Trevor May Baseball. He's basically got everything.
Huh.
He's going to join us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. 7:07 will be the first pitch tonight, time of first pitch tonight, as Garrett Crochet and the Chicago White Sox visit the Rogers Center to take on Yusei Kikuchi. And the Blue Jays with a win tonight, well, it would be the Jays' 3rd win in a row and would give them a series win. Mm-hmm. Something that I think the last series they won, if I'm not mistaken, was a series against the San Diego Padres.
Been a while.
So it has indeed been a while. And the Jays, of course, coming off a 9-3 win yesterday, which came on the heels, I should say, of a 5-2 win over Tampa Bay on Sunday. So this is kind of, we talked about it, this could be a tipping point for the Blue Jays this season because they've got 10 games against the White Sox, 4 against the Tigers. Not that I'm taking the Tigers lightly, but 6 games against the White Sox, 4 against the Tigers, and they've got the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mm-hmm. So it is a good time for a team that up till this point did have the toughest schedule by opponents' winning percentage in baseball. I know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Baseball,
so people know about it. Trevor May. What?
Play better.
Trevor May is a former MLB pitcher. He's co-host of the Rates and Barrels podcast in Foul Territory.
Busy.
He is. You can follow him on X at I am Trevor May, and you can follow his content on YouTube at Trevor May Baseball. Trevor, thank you very much for joining us on Blair and Barker today. Always good to talk to you. We trust you're doing well. Your former teammate, José Berríos, is having a terrific season. I'm sure you're well aware. He had his 8th quality start of the season last year.
Yep.
He's got 3rd in innings pitched, wins. We don't talk about wins anymore generally.
Should.
Well, I know. But as I said, you were a teammate of this guy. And it's funny because I keep thinking, I had a talk with someone when this deal was made, and I loved the deal to begin with. But I said, I watched José Berríos, and my first reaction is, at some point, this guy should be winning Cy Youngs or something because he looks the package. You know, he defends well, all of that stuff. He kind of reminds me of a guy I covered in Javier Vasquez. I used to say the same thing. Javier Vasquez has got to win a Cy Young Award someday because he just looks good out there. Do you think that José Berríos that there's still something untapped there?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that struck me, especially even when he first came up, was how hard he worked and how on top of things he was. Like, that was not a skill he had to learn in the big leagues. Usually guys like that have the type of stuff like he has, translate into top 5 pitchers in the league regularly. And I think it's just come down to consistency with him. You know, I think it's finding those, how to use his stuff the most effectively he can. And he sometimes, you know, learns a new pitch and uses it a lot and likes to kind of change things up a little bit. And so I think it's just a matter of the chips falling a little bit more in his favor and getting a little bit lucky. A lot of times that's the decider in a Cy Young situation. But, you know, it doesn't help. That division does not help. It's not the easiest division to pitch in terms of parks and team makeup. So, you know, it's one of those things, but I think that you're right. I think that the stuff's there. You watch him play, you're like, he does all the little things well. He's a great defender. He's very athletic. And the ball's moving all over the place when he throws it. So what's the next step. And I think it's just, those 2 or 3 clunkers he has a year, turn one, only have one, and then suddenly those stats look a lot better at the end of the year.
Trevor, did you or teammates ever sit down, look at the schedule, and go, man, we're facing some teams right here where we could really get healthy? Like, I could gain some confidence facing this team, because obviously I'm asking this question because the Jays here playing the White Sox, the Tigers, and Pittsburgh, and they've gotten off to a slow start. You or your teammates ever sit down, look at the schedule like that, and talk about the schedule like that?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that we kind of would talk about it like this is an opportunity to, they always say, my dad always said this to me. I know it's a very common saying, but when I was really young, just got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah.
And if you're unable to do that, if you're not able to show up for those, then maybe you weren't supposed to beat them. And so that's kind of, it's a good thing for confidence, but it's going in and just saying, hey, let's take care of business the way that we know we can. It's a good way to get confidence back, and it's a good way to kind of go out and take care of business, and then feel that you can do that against anybody and not just the teams that maybe aren't playing as well this year. So, and this is one of those stretches for them. You got to take advantage of it. That doesn't mean you got to win every single game. That's not going to happen. It's the major leagues, right? Maybe it happens, but that'd be great. But it's not something you can count on, and it's easier to go, let's take advantage of our opportunities here, and let's just focus on winning one series at a time and string a couple of those together. And before you know it, you don't have to think about it as much. And I think that's the position they'd like to be in.
Yep.
Trevor, with Alek Manoah in his last start, beating the Rays, 7 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. It was, his manager said, that the stuff might even have been better than it was in 2022 when he had a good year. What tells you when a guy is back, when he's fallen off the cliff, which basically Alek Manoah did last year? I mean, we didn't know where he was for a while, literally. What tells you when a guy's back?
One thing I noticed, I watched his first start back, and that first inning, things got, he started the way. I'm sure he was like, please don't have this happen, and then it started to happen again. But there was a mound visit, and he wasn't laughing, but he was like kind of smiling and joking with the catcher, like, we had talked about this, like this moment. He seemed in the moment at that point, like he was still going to keep battling, and he didn't look like a deer in headlights. And that's something I look for. I'm like, that is a big difference, because before he did, and it's hard to tell how much maybe the pitch clock had to do. He is a little bit of a slower worker, or has been in the past, or he likes to think about his pitches and kind of come to a conclusion. And I know that better than anybody last year. I struggled with it. I couldn't do the same mental process that I had done my whole career. And that was like really jarring in a way where you felt like you were on a foreign planet. And I saw a lot of those things from him. And then when he came back, it looks like he had remedied some of that stuff, battled through some adversity. And those last few, he's put together some really good outings, with some crooked numbers here and there in an inning, but it hasn't been the whole time, and he's going deeper into games. That is a positive thing. It just looks like he's more comfortable in needing to move quickly, and also just getting on the same page with the catcher. That's just so important that you guys are in it together, and it seems like they are. So it's good to see from him. I always love it when a guy really, really struggles, goes through some stuff, and then is able to find a way to be successful again. And the stuff was never diminished, I don't think. I didn't feel like anything was moving differently. Didn't feel like his velo was down. Didn't feel like there was an injury going on we didn't know about. It just felt like, between the years, there was just a lot of changes happening really quickly, and that takes some adjusting. And some guys are better equipped for that than others.
Interesting hearing you talk about the pitch clock, because I, quite frankly, was surprised at how so many pitchers that I thought might have an issue with it ended up adapting. Maybe I shouldn't be, because they are great athletes. But I look at a guy like Chris Bassett, and we were talking about, Chris Bassett's first spring training with the Blue Jays. Oh. Every media session was 30 minutes of just kind of, I'm ripping my soul, I'm bearing my soul. It's like, this is, and yet
Love
now,
Bass.
Everybody does. And because he's honest. His default position is total honesty, but now he started using it. At some point, he almost started using it as a weapon. Are you surprised that guys have adapted as well as they have? Using your personal experience.
Yeah, a little bit at times. Some guys, it took me a minute usually it doesn't take me that long to put my finger on what's going on. And I was truly lost for a few weeks. Like I was like, everything I'm trying and nothing is even remotely helping, and I had to think about it differently. What I came to the conclusion that the clock actually, it seems like guys who move slower would struggle with it, but I think it's how guys who move slower, sometimes they have the decision. They're just taking their time. They know what pitch they want to throw. And then the last 10 seconds before they throw, it's just them kind of getting ready. And that was like for Bass, that's really what he had. It's not like he was flip flopping on what to pitch to throw. He knows exactly what pitch he wants to throw immediately after he throws the last one. So that decision making wasn't in the way. It was for me. I would like be doing math in my head. And it's just naturally who I am. And I had to figure out a way to get rid of the math. And I didn't realize I was even doing it. So I feel like those guys got hurt. The guys who did a lot of thinking in between pitches, guys who were able to make decisions quickly were able to pick it up. And that wasn't necessarily like demonstrated by how quickly they're moving. There's more guys that were doing that and they could get rid of stuff easier than I could. And it was really, really interesting. If I were a spectator on the outside, it wasn't happening to me, I would have probably been more curious. But I was so frustrated I couldn't focus on anything else. But finding a way, working with Shea Langoliers was like having a young guy too. Like just working with my catcher was the biggest thing I did. We got some stuff locked in. And as soon as we did that, it was like night and day. It was actually really nice to not have to think as much and just kind of go out and let things happen the way they're supposed to happen.
Yeah, when I showed up to work today, Jeff looked at me and said, "Hey, did you see Sonny Gray take himself out of the game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that." But Jeff was like making it a big deal. Like, it was outside the norm, and how dare he take himself out of the game.
No, I did not say that.
This is yeah, you did. That's how I heard it. It's sort of a two-part question. Have you ever done that? I would think you have to be, in tune with your career. You have to be confident in your career to, basically say, "Coach, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore." And have you ever heard of a veteran pitcher doing something like that?
I've never done it. I remember saying that once, but I was out of the game anyways. Things did not go well. And it was like a recurring injury. I came off, like I was battling it for all year, and then I was off for a month, came back the first time back, and just came right back. And I was really mad. But I was out of the game anyways. But I remember telling him, like, "Hey, I'm going back to the IL. I can't keep going." And that was just like, I was just certain. I tried everything 4 times, and that level of frustration was just, I was done. But to be pulled in the middle of an outing, unless you are certain that this is something that if you continue pitching, it's going to hurt you much more than if you don't. Which I would say for a guy like Sonny, he's a guy I would definitely trust to be able to make that decision. If he came to me, I'd be like, that guy loves pitching, right? And he would be out there if he could. And then there's guys like Max Scherzer who's simply not going to pull himself out of a game. Like he will just be in the most pain ever. It's just not something he has the ability to do. It's just not who he is. So it's a weird kind of fine line. I think some guys skirt, but again, the game now is built the way it is. Like we had the thing with Kirby last year, right, where he didn't pull himself. George Kirby didn't pull himself. But he was surprised that he was asked to go longer, right? So it's not like he was like, "Oh, I only wanted to throw 6." He's just like, this is, I had no reason to think that it wouldn't be the same thing it had been all year. And that took me off guard. And that was frustrating. So like, there's guys trying to project that stuff too, like trying to factor in those decisions. How will this hurt the team long term? How, like, that simply wasn't the case in the early 2000s. And even as soon as 5 years ago, like that's just not how guys thought. You go out there, and then you go until they tell you you're done.
If you were Sonny's teammate, would that bother you? Like, would you be mad, or would you be disappointed in Sonny? He sounds like, I've never met him, but he sounds like a gamer. He sounds like he's a great teammate. And, would you be like disappointed in him that he said, "Coach, it was visible. Like, come out here and get me. I'm spent. I don't want to throw anymore." Would you be disappointed in that if you're his teammate?
I think if I'm out in the bullpen and I see that and guys are having to get rushed to get up and stuff,
there
would be an immediate like annoyance and frustration. But then at the same time, especially if a guy calls a guy out, now I'm like, "Oh no, what's wrong?" Like that's Tommy John. Yeah. That's a Tommy John torn lat situation. Like I've seen guys do that. Like, "Come and get me." Like that was bad. This is bad. And you got to kind of. I try to be like, let's give him the benefit out and then figure it out. But when I look over and my bullpen guys are all panicking and we don't know what's going on, and the phone rang and everyone's stressed out. I have empathy for that too. So, but at first a bit, if it's a pattern, I feel like if it's a guy who does that sometimes. Or
sure.
I'll be honest, there are guys that I've played with in the past that like they'll be warming up and they'll be doing like, I don't know, guys, that stuff. Like,
or looking in the dugout, the long look in the dugout.
Yeah.
The long look in the dugout, exactly. If you see that and it happens more than just once, then you're like, come on. That's probably the only time I would ever be iffy on it.
I mean, I guess my only the thing that kind of surprised me is I would think the manager and pitching coach, I mean, they were surprised by it because they didn't come out to make the move. And that just kind of, I wasn't looking at it from Sonny Gray's point of view. I have no problem with a guy who knows his body and you say as a gamer wanting to pitch. My problem was like the pitching coach and manager. Did you guys was there no talk about this before the game? I mean, you have him between innings. Did he not say to you, hey, you know what? I mean, I've got, that to me was just a bad look. Like if I was running the team, I'd want to know how come my pitcher has to ask you guys to come out? How come at least one of you didn't go out? That's all.
That is weird. And that is interesting. And we're Cardinals, like something.
Yes,
I don't know. Ollie and there's something different about the crew that's been there since Schultz left. There is something different. It's not, doesn't feel like all the past Cardinals teams and like the camaraderie and the Cardinal way. It feels a little disjointed. And there's 1,000 things that could be caused by. But it does feel different. That is a little bit weird. It does raise some questions, I think. And now, it could have been something pretty simple, like, he felt this and whatever. But the fact that no one came out, now there's a bunch more questions that we're talking about. Now we're not even talking about the injury. We're just talking about why that didn't happen. So,
are you surprised Chris Sale's been so good?
No, not even remotely. Right when they made that move with Anthopoulos over there, like I was like, oh, he just did it again. Like I think sometimes you need a clean slate with another organization.
Yeah,
I think the time in Boston had run its course for Chris. I think that there was this baggage now. Like he just kept having little ticky-tack injuries and just like it just didn't feel good. You could tell. He's like, I'm not me. And sometimes you just need to feel like you're wanted by another organization to kind of get that kind of out of your head and reset. But he's got great stuff. And we saw flashes last year. So I'm like, if he gets a full year of health, we could see old Chris Sale, and surprise, the Braves get him, because of course they do.
Yes.
So I thought it was a really savvy move, and honestly, he's going to continue to shine, especially with the absence of Strider. Like he's that guy who steps into those roles and like, okay, give me the ball. And so far so good.
Yeah, it's I had someone tell me, talking about Chris Sale one time. Well, he and Drew Hutchison kind of came up. They were opponents when they might have been teammates actually when they were in high school in Florida. But I had someone tell me one time that when he's healthy, he is super low maintenance. Like he will take the ball and pitch. But the question is, again, when healthy, right? There's a difference there between guys like that who are low maintenance when they're healthy and then have a reputation for being injured all the time.
Yeah, I was just wondering about Paul Skeens. Is there a way now, because we've seen so many hard throwers, to tell if he can stay healthy pitching at close to 100 miles an hour?
When it comes to injuries, most of the time it's just based on their prior history. The wonderful thing about Skeens is he's been throwing hard for a while, and he's been healthy, and he's been a workhorse, like throwing lots of innings without any diminished stuff. We never see him like come out and throw a 96. Like he's just 100. Like it's just 100. And that is then again, so the same thing with Jacob deGrom, right? So I think he's young enough though that he could have that 8-9 years, like we were just talking about Sale. A lot of people forget that Sale didn't hit a spotless record for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like he threw 200 innings every year for 8 years. And Garrett Cole, same thing. He's avoided. He's been doing that. He threw 100 coming up, and he's just been throwing 100 the whole time, for 8 years before any red ink. So it's entirely possible. Now, he is throwing a little bit harder than those guys have thrown at their peak, but not a ton harder, just a couple miles an hour harder. So it seems really, really clean. It comes down to it doesn't seem like he puts in a lot of effort, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a ton of force. We're just going to have to wait and see. And I think that there's going to be an element of that, especially when it comes to like elbows,
right?
Things like Tommy John. It's usually something that just goes. It's not like a use injury. So, and we have great protocols for fixing that and getting it back. You just don't want to miss any time. I think he's going to be okay. I think it's impressive. I don't think he's got any red flags. I don't think anyone sees anything that could turn into an injury, but that's not.
Hope not.
That's the best you can do, right?
Yeah, he's must watch. Like for the first time in a long time, Pittsburgh, when he throws, is must watch. Like you are stopping the remote just to watch that dude throw. It's pretty cool to watch.
Jones.
Yeah, it's awesome to watch.
Those two guys are disgusting.
They're
so
it
fun
is.
To watch.
Crazy.
Yeah, you just wait for Pittsburgh to build on that. That's to me the story.
Well, fingers crossed they can do that, right? Fingers crossed they spend a little money and get some guys in there.
And it's a great baseball.
It is. It's beautiful. I mean,
it's a great ballpark. When the Pirates are good, it's a really cool baseball city.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it might be a little bit of the hipster in me or something. I don't know. But kind of
a nice place,
kind of
right?
like Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Trevor, thanks for doing this, man. As
wonderful.
always, really good.
Thanks, buddy.
Of course, my pleasure, guys.
See ya.
Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Trevor May, former MLB pitcher, co-host of the Rates and Barrels podcast with Saris, Foul Territory as well. He's a great follow on X. You can follow him at I am Trevor May and Trevor May Baseball. Got a lot of really good YouTube. Product, and it's he's kind of an original thinker, which is one of the reasons I like him. But I was fascinated hearing him talk about the pitch clock in particular, and just the mental process of, because I think for a lot of people, I don't know about you, Ken, but I thought it'd be more of an issue, didn't you? Like I thought we'd be seeing the World Series game decided on the pitch clock. I thought there would be more chaos as a result of it, and dudes seem to adapt, man.
Yeah, I think they've taken the umpire out of it, which is a big deal, right? It buzzes, they call it, right? It's not up to the umpire to call it on their own. I think that helps out a lot.
You hardly ever see anybody argue it.
Well, because they can't, right? It's the buzz.
No,
He'll come out front and,
that's good.
Point at his buzzer and say it, went off and
I think the only
cost you a ball or strike. So, yeah.
Yesterday there was, and I can't remember who was at the plate for the White Sox, but yesterday there was a situation where I can't even remember the Jays pitcher, whoever was on the mound, was kind of like doing some work on the mound, and the hitter stepped in and made eye contact, and then kind of stepped out and looked at the home plate umpire and went like this, and but that's other than that, that's how rare it is you notice it now when it happens.
Yeah, I think what Trevor was trying to say is don't overthink it, right? It's if you anything in baseball, like that is the.
This is in life. If you can get rid of the math, if you can get rid of the math, it's good.
Yeah, but try that in baseball now. Like try to not listen. There's so many people trying to give you so much information. Try not to listen.
Yeah.
Try to say no, I'm good. I'm not going to listen. It's going to go one ear and out the other. It's really hard to do that.
Especially with so many young players in the game.
Yeah, it's very hard to do that. It's you'd be better off sometimes, I think, just to say I'm good. I got here for a reason. Let's simplify this thing.
I know listeners and viewers will have heard me tell the story, but I still remember Cal Quantrill talking about his dad driving out to see him. He was scuffling one day, flew out to see him, actually. He's saying, you got to learn how to tell people to bleep off, basically.
It's hard. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have said that to Rod Carew like 1,000 times, but I just didn't have the nerve to do it. It's Rod Carew.
It's Rod Carew. What are you
it's Rod Carew.
Rod Carew.
Absolutely.
Shi Davidi's our MLB insider at Sportsnet. He is at the Rogers Center. He'll join us next. Gordon Beckham's also at the Rogers Center. He's a White Sox analyst. We'll take a deeper dive into Garrett Crochet and the White Sox. It's Blair and Barker. I love this sometimes. On Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. First pitch at the Rogers Center set to fly at 7:07 tonight. Garrett Crochet against Yusei Kikuchi. And Shi Davidi is our MLB insider with Sportsnet, and he joins us, I believe, from the Rogers.
Hey.
Look at you at the Rogers. You found a nice little spot in the upper level. Very nice. Appreciate you.
Looking sharp.
Appreciate you. And you do look sharp. Appreciate you doing this. But
yeah, I mean, no problem. What's going on?
Same old, same old. 3 games or 2 games in a row, 2-game winning streak, 9 runs. Almost like stuff that's happening in 28 or 29 other major league markets, maybe with the exception of the White Sox. Should say that. Hey, a quick question for you. Schneider, Jansen, Guerrero, Bichette. This is going to be it, do you think, going forward in the immediate future? Like, I don't want to say, okay, now that it's working, what are the Jays going to do to screw it up? But is there any way that you see this changing at some point, or is this it?
I mean, I don't think this is necessarily it for the entire season, but while it's working right now, while they're waiting for the offense to quote unquote normalize and start getting to the point where it's performing to their projections, until I think they'd like, in an ideal world, George Springer gets back to being George Springer and he's at the top of their lineup and setting the tone for this team and for this offense. But right now, why are you going to mess with something that's working? And really what the Blue Jays have been trying to do in different ways, and they've just become more and more deliberate about it as the season has progressed, is just cluster their best hitters together so that you can hopefully string something together and create something akin to sustained pressure on a pitcher. And so now you've got that a little bit. You've seen it play out over the last few days in a somewhat meaningful way. And I don't think this is something they're going to run away from. But this isn't the setup that they had envisioned. It's not necessarily the setup they think is ideal. But this is the setup that works best in the moments.
Shi, I know you talked to Bo a lot. Is there anything that you've seen from him offensively at the plate that will tell you that he can continue to do this going forward?
It's so strange with him because it's not like there's one key for him because he gets hits in so many different ways, right? I think what I've liked over the last little while is just you're seeing some of the lasers come back, that he's really battling well and making good contact. And I think one of the doubles yesterday, it was like, yeah, that's a Bo Bichette swing right there. But it's been a strange season because there are times that you think, okay, he looks locked in, he's about to take off, and then he has a couple games where he has those at-bats where it looks like he's just in swing mode and he just really can't. He doesn't end up hunting the stuff he does damage on and sort of gets himself out. And then it's sort of been this push-pull, whereas usually when he gets red hot, it's over an extended stretch, and it looks like pitchers have no shot of getting him out. So I don't know that there's that one sign there, but you're continuing to see little signs and bits of progress. And, the OPS is above 600 now, which is, it seems strange to say, but okay, that's something as we're getting towards the end of May. And maybe this is the point where he springboards off and takes off.
Shi, Danny Jansen's weighted runs created plus right now trails only Shohei Ohtani among hitters with 50 plate appearances. It's ahead of Kyle Tucker's. Is there any chance the Jays sit down with Danny and try to get something hammered out here to keep him in the organization? I understand the drawbacks with Danny. I understand the health and all that, but it seems to me it's he's an organizational guy. You've ridden the development curve with him. We've gone through all this stuff with him. At some point, don't you think they should sit down, or don't you think they'll sit down with him and try to figure out if there's a way of locking him up here?
Well, I mean, they did sit down with him, and I'm not sure exactly at what point in the offseason it was, but just in the conversations that I've had since, the impression I've gotten is that at this point, Danny Jansen wants to ride it out and see what happens. And could the sides come together? I'm sure if there was an offer that was substantial enough that, to get to a point where anyone's going to listen. But, I didn't get the sense that Danny Jansen was eager for discussions during the season. And a lot of times when a player gets to this point, you're so close, it takes a really significant contract to buy you out of the opportunity to just at least see what's out there. And so, Danny Jansen's had, as you mentioned, so many stops and starts with injuries over the past few years. But if he can stay healthy from here on out and put up the kind of numbers that you think he would put up over an extended stretch of health over the course of the season, he'd be very much in demand. And it's tough to find good catchers. It's even tougher to find good offensive catchers as well. Danny Jansen brings both of those elements to the table. And, I think, I think about myself in that spot. I would feel like almost an obligation to myself to just see what's out there and what I could do. So I think the window on that is probably closed. If you wanted to really lock a guy up, you've got to do it before this point, right? Because now it's just so hard to find that middle ground where the player feels he's getting maximal value and the team feels it's getting enough of a deal to buy him out of the market.
Shi, with what they don't have at the minor league level to try and trade to get a bat in here to help them out offensively, with the way Manoah's looked the last couple of games, what do you think that will do to the front office just when it comes to mindset-wise, making it easier to give up something maybe in the rotation because of the way Manoah's doing to get what they need offensively?
So it's an interesting question, but then you run into the situation where, okay, are you trying to fill one hole but creating another at the same time? And this isn't a team that has a ton of surplus right now. Like, if you look at it, like, where are you getting surplus performance being like, oh, we've got too much of this one thing? Like, you basically can look anywhere on the roster and say, okay, we just don't have enough of. And so, like, are you gonna if you're just getting Manoah right now, you back to like 5 starters potentially who are really productive and giving your team a chance to win every game. Can you afford to take away from that when that's really the strength and to some degree, kind of the principle under the way that this team was built, right? This team was built around having a tremendous starting rotation. It helps the bullpen manage its innings and be effective when it gets out there, and reduces some of the pressure on the offense to have to put up 7-8 runs to win a ball game. So it's interesting, but I think you could probably have that conversation if you were looking and saying, okay, Yariel Rodriguez is ready to step up into the rotation, or Ricky Tiedemann is knocking on the door, or Chad Dallas is taking a massive jump forward and he's ready to jump on. That none of those things is happening. And so right now you really need Alek Manoah just right to complete your rotation, and then to go and sacrifice from that is I'm not sure that you can adequately backfill that at the deadline as well and still make yourself better.
What's your sense on when we may see Chad Green, Bowden Francis, and Yariel Rodriguez here? I know I believe John Schneider said they're pitching, I believe, on Wednesday. The two of them are pitching on Wednesday. Rodriguez is probably going to need more time at AAA. But is your sense that they could be ready to join the team this weekend in Detroit, maybe? Yeah,
so Yariel Rodriguez is pitching tonight, and he's definitely going to get another. Right. With Green and Francis, it's going to depend. They're pitching tomorrow, and it's going to depend basically how they feel. And chatting with Chad Green a bit yesterday, he had a 9-pitch outing, which is sort of great because, like, oh, my stuff is working, but it was that's a little too short. I wish that was a bit longer. So because it's not too often you're going to be in the big leagues and have a 9-pitch inning. So he wanted to have a little bit more length underneath him to make sure that if he's got a 20-pitch inning, that he's good for that at the big leagues. So for him, it was going to be a lot of assessment of how he felt coming out of that outing tomorrow and take a next step. But if everything checks out, both with him and Francis, then yeah, I think Detroit this weekend is a real possibility for both those guys.
Shi, when everybody's healthy in the bullpen, who do you think goes out of the three? Zach Pop, Nate Pearson, or Genesis Cabrera? Which one of the three?
Yeah, that's super interesting, right?
Yeah.
And I think on the surface, you would think there's no way Cabrera's in that mix, but he's been a little bit inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nate Pearson has had some ups and downs, and you could probably say over the last couple of weeks that Zach Pop has been the most consistent guy of those three. But who is the guy that you trust most? And I think Genesis Cabrera continues to be someone that John Schneider shows some trust in, and it wasn't super high leverage yesterday, but he was out there in the 8th inning trying to protect a lead and making sure that game didn't get away from the Blue Jays, and it sort of did, or was on the verge of perhaps doing that, but Cabrera was able to recover, get out of that inning, and keep Jordan Romano from having to get a multi-inning outing there. So I'm not sure there's a clear answer for that. I think just from a platoon split standpoint, you kind of really want to have Cabrera there because, Tim Mays is still looking for it a little bit as well. So you don't want to leave yourself with just one lefty in the bullpen. But I think of the three guys that you mentioned there, I think of late you could say, okay, Zach Pop has probably been the one who's been performed the best.
Is it your sense that Jordan Romano right now that I was going to say that I don't know, all the shackles are off, or if the Jays have to, John Schneider will use them in to save any game at any time, or are they still being a little cautious with him? Understanding there have been games this year where they haven't necessarily needed somebody to save the game. But do you think they're still a little cautious with him, or is he basically good to go?
No, I mean, I think you saw the example last week in Baltimore where he pitched both the 9th and the 10th innings of that game to win it there. And a 2-inning, that was his first 2-inning outing of the season, and first time he'd been extended in that way. And that was the Blue Jays needed to win that game. Jordan Romano was obviously the best guy for that spot. And he was able to go back-to-back innings, and he was out there again on the Wednesday and ended up getting touched up by Rutschman for that walk-off 2-run shot, but he was back out there a day later. So I think that to me is a sign that it's all systems go with Jordan, and I mean, they clearly need him. They've leaned on him and Jimmy Garcia a whole lot, and that's one of the reasons why Chad Green's return is really important. And even further down the road, like I can very much see Yariel Rodriguez getting into potentially a leverage type of role to help out with bridging some of that gap there. Because as you guys know, it's been difficult at times for the Blue Jays to get from the starter to Jimmy Garcia and Jordan Romano.
Yep.
Shi, really good of you to do this, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Anytime, guys.
See ya.
Shi Davidi, Sportsnet's MLB insider, joining us via Zoom. Gordon Beckham will join us from the ballpark in a few minutes as well. So yeah, that's I wondered about Jordan Romano a bit. I understand that they did give him that two inning opportunity. Maybe part of it is I'm still just sort of wrapping my head around the idea that Jimmy Garcia. There just seems to be such a discrepancy between Jimmy Garcia's stuff and Jordan Romano right now. And I guess maybe I'm still kind of that school of thought that your best guy gets a 9th inning, even though I know the best guy gets the best pocket.
There you go.
That's
what John's done, right?
He's
put Jimmy in to put out the flames. Like that's what his job is, because the multiple pitches and pitching the weaknesses, and the sweeper's a big deal, and the maintaining the velocity is a huge deal, right? We've asked John on this show many times, at least I have, about how do you keep Jimmy throwing that way?
Mm-hmm,
how do you keep the velocity where it's at? And I'm not sure they have a real answer for it. I know the up downs, and I know you got to make sure if you get him up, you're throwing him. Like it's just little things. It's you're tweaking how much he's throwing off the field and how much sleep he's getting. I mean, that's silly about how much sleep you're getting, but he's talked about that, right? How much?
Yeah, no,
it's just the little things about you get a certain age.
Yeah,
you need this amount of rest to be the best you can possibly be.
They've got a sleep room, don't they?
Yeah, they got 2 or 3 of them.
They got sleep rooms.
They got 2 or 3 of them. So there's no excuses. Like they've given them everything possible known to man to go out there and be the best player they can possibly be. So yeah, I think they got the 9th and 8th inning guy taken care of in their mind. It's just the other innings. Right, it's when the starter has a little hiccup, who comes in to put the flame out?
Yeah.
And then you still want sort of having the lead and Jimmy coming back around in the 8th inning. So you really don't want him to use him in the 6th to put the flame out, because you'd rather have that time where he comes back around against the meat in the 8th inning. It's just that third guy. Jeff, who's the third guy? That's who you got to ask yourself, is who the third guy is. And,
depends
and
how
I'm
I
not sure
feel,
they
man.
know who the third guy is.
Trevor Richards would probably.
I guess. I mean, when he's aiming right with the changeup, yeah, but it's not all the time. And, they're trying to – they've thrown some names against the wall over there and tried to pick the right name at the right time. It's not the easiest thing to do.
It's awfully hard to run a bullpen when you're sort of kind of trying to avoid two guys.
Remember, the lineup change has sort of been done this way because of the way the bullpen is, right? They understand how the bullpen's sort of a little all over the place. Mm-hmm. There's some unknowns there. You hand the ball to certain guys, and I mentioned those names with Shi, that you really don't know what you're going to get. There's 2 guys basically down there that are predictable. And I guess you could throw Richards in there most of the time. He's sort of that hybrid all over the go.
Did you expect more from Genesis Cabrera?
Not really. I mean, he's a thrower, not a pitcher, right? I mean, aren't those a little bit of a dime a dozen? Look, you got to throw him in the right pocket against the hopefully 3 lefties. You don't want him against the righty. I mean, that's a slider, not a cutter. He calls it a cutter. That ain't a cutter. That's a slider. You know, he's throwing that thing. He ain't pitching with that thing, right? He ain't trying to start that somewhere and get a dude to swing over it. He's just throwing it and hoping somebody puts it in play or swings and misses and, you know, it tunnels and breaks sharp enough that the guy can't put it in play. If he does put it in play, it's not hard or at somebody. So, yeah, right now they got a bunch of throwers down there, right? And hopefully they can get some weapons back, some experience back. You know, Rodriguez would be a nice little mix down there with his stuff. You could simplify it and don't have to throw 4 or 5 pitches. You could throw 2 of them, right? And put him in the right pocket. Maybe give you 4 batters.
And his most recent work before he came here was out of the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest thing I would assume to go, you know, get your body, your routine ready to go for a starter. And now they're asking, you know, some leverage. Can't be the easiest thing, but, you know, they're looking for stuff down there. Yeah, I guess. Never done it in the big league. Big league's different doing it overseas.
But I've got to think, too, that you know, the leverage situation, in a lot of ways, it kind of removes that whole stigma of it makes it easier for a guy. In other words, you're not saying to Ariel Rodriguez, we view you as a 9th inning guy. You know, you can use a guy in the 7th inning or the 8th inning. We've talked about that. That's when you may need him the most. And I just think that psychologically, it's a little easier. Like there's something less dramatic about the 8th inning than the 9th inning in a game.
I guess
even if the part of the lineup is harder, even if you're going through 3, 4, 5 in a good lineup in the 8th inning.
Yeah, there's only so many 9th and 8th inning guys down there. So, you know, you got that, I think, is where sort of their ad is. It's if you're the 8th inning guy, you're passing the ball to one guy. You're not passing the ball to 3 or 4 guys. That's, I think, the difference. It's not the easiest innings to go out and dominate in. I just wonder, they got a lot of confidence in Chad Green. I'm not sure I feel that way. I mean, I don't throw as hard as he used to, and it's breaking stuff. You know, it's the breaking ball, it's the slider.
He doesn't have the margin for error that he has.
It's just not right. But they everybody I talk to seems they have a ton of confidence and can't wait to get him back. I just wonder, right? It's again, you sort of are trying to score more runs because you're trying to hide something in maybe a 6th or 7th inning. That I think you score more runs, you have to worry about the 6th or 7th inning. You need to give it to the 8th and 9th inning guy. Like it's simplified that much, right? To score more runs takes pressure off your manager and your pitching coach to always trying to work around the 6th and 7th inning. Getting the right arm at the right time against the right hitter is not always the right thing or the easiest thing to do. So, yeah, again, Shi didn't ooze confidence in trying to give up something to get a bat in here either. It just almost feels and sounds like they got what they got. Don't it? Does it feel that way to you? It feels that way to me. It does. Who you giving up? Ain't giving up Danny Jansen, are you?
Well, no.
Jimmy Garcia? Absolutely not.
Well, again, it depends.
For what?
Do you want to contend this year?
Yeah.
Well, you have to answer that question first.
Well, who's the 8th inning guy then if you gave up Jimmy?
Before you decide what you're going to do, you got to decide what your team is. If your team isn't going to contend this year, and quite frankly, who cares who the 8th inning guy is? If you're not going to re-sign Jimmy Garcia and you're convinced your team isn't going to contend this year, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, you're looking at me like that. Why? If you are convinced that your team has a shot, you know, like the Jays go over these 8? They go 8-2 over these next 10. Okay, well then we can put aside all that talk. But if we're 2 weeks down the road or 3 weeks down the road, and the Jays are 6, 7, 8 games under 500, whatever it is, and the front office says, you know, let's be honest about this, where things don't look real good. Why would you hang on to guys who are going to leave next year? For what reason?
Yeah, you wouldn't. Then it comes to question would ask, do you want Ross Atkins making those decisions? Well, I would think that would be your first call, right? Once you figure out you're punting on your season, then you got to really look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself.
General managers don't often get fired in the middle of the year.
But it's
so I've come to the conclusion that it is going to be Ross Atkins' call on when that situation arises. If they were going to do something with the GM, I don't think you'll let him go out and do a 23-minute news conference, even on a Saturday, which, again, I mean, the timing was all that aside. Why would you do that? If you're gonna rinse the guy, if you're gonna rinse the guy, why would you let him go out and pour fuel on the flames? Like, what's the point of that? So,
I mean, if you were going to do it, does it really matter if he was talking on Saturday and you did it on Tuesday? What difference does it make?
Because it doesn't.
The fans that want it done would be happy to see it.
Because it doesn't look good, and it makes your organization look dysfunctional that you've let a guy go out and do a state of the team thing, and then canned him a week or two later. It's just, it just looks like you're finger painting. You're just pulling stuff out. But if the front office makes the decision that this team isn't going or can't contend or isn't likely to contend, then I have no problem with them starting to pivot off guys that they have no intention of re-signing.
That's the obvious choice. But what I
just said before, you wouldn't know who's going to pitch the eighth inning.
No, I was saying,
if the team is 10 games under 500, you could pitch the eighth inning. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
That's not what I said. I said Shi didn't act like he or we had any idea of if they were going to give up a guy because they don't have a ton at the minor league level to give up to get a solid bat. And here ain't going to be a great bat, it sounds like. A solid bat could help.
You're not going to get a game changer.
Who would the name be? And that's Shi's point, is you would take away from a strength to add. Yeah, what you're trying to make your team better. How would you make it better? That's the point. If you're going that route.
Well,
you're trying to say if they fall off the cliff and they punted, I'm with you. Who cares?
Well, yeah,
I'll pitch the eighth inning. Call me. But that's not what I said.
That was my point. Yes, you did.
You weren't listening.
Yes, you did. That's what you said.
That's not what I said.
That's what you said. You said, well, who would pitch the eighth inning? I said, I don't care
who would pitch the eighth inning if you gave somebody up to get what you needed to make your team better.
Well, I mean, you probably have to give up that guy in order to make the team better.
So you got about as much answers for that as I do, or Shi does.
No,
that's what we're trying to say here. It's not going to be the easiest thing to do is the point.
Well, no, and before you start trading guys, again, you've got to figure out where your team is going. If you think your team can contend and all the underlying numbers make you think your team can contend, then I don't think you're going to trade your most reliable bullpen arm. Certainly not before the trade deadline.
You wouldn't think so.
But really what you kind of need right now is you need a team to panic. I mean, if you want to get a legit bat in here, you need somebody like Colorado or St. Louis.
They don't do that a lot.
In Colorado, because Colorado really doesn't want to win. They just don't care. I mean, they don't. They don't want to win.
Ever.
They have never. They haven't acted like they wanted to win since Troy Tulowitzki was there.
Yeah.
So you look at a team like St. Louis. Maybe a dysfunctional team like St. Louis, maybe. And this is an organization. Hey, this is an organization that got rid of Randy Rosarina and Adolis Garcia. The Cardinals lately have made a habit of giving up guys who've turned into pretty good hitters. So that's kind of what you need.
See, the problem,
that's kind of what you need.
The problem of trying to punt on your season is as bad as the Jays' offense has been, and them being 4 games under 500, they're only 2.5 games out of the third wild card spot.
That is the beauty of the wild card.
What is the number that you would decide to punt at?
Depends what you want to do, right? Do you want to just scrape into the playoffs?
Well, it sounds like,
or do you want to have a legitimate shot at going someplace?
At the end of the season, whenever they've had their conversations out loud, it seems like making the playoffs is good enough. So, if you're just in it to make the playoffs, then
the thing is, you can, if you want to find excuses, if you want to find reasons to think that it can get better, I'm sure this is what the Jays are doing. If you want to do that, then you'll look at the fact that your schedule, what now? And I have a problem with strength of schedule because if you're a playoff team, you ought to be able to beat teams that are good. But the Jays' strength of schedule, no team in baseball has had a harder schedule. I believe the only team close to them is the team playing here right now, the Chicago White Sox.
That's the reason why the White Sox are the worst team.
No, but I'm saying if you want to find, and Ross says this, and Ross said it the other day as well, and John Schneider said the same thing. We played a tough schedule.
Said it. Chris Bassett said it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There is evidence. There is. If you want to look for silver lining to this, you can find silver lining.
Yeah, but after the Pittsburgh series, it gets tough again.
There's no silver lining.
It gets tough again. Yeah.
But anyhow, that's and you pointed out something about the wild card that is something other people have talked about. It's hard. Like, when do you put it this way? You've got ownership that's sunk a ton of money into a new ballpark.
Yep.
You've got ownership that owns this network, and baseball is a big deal in the summer.
Huge.
It's a big deal in the summer. It drives ratings. It brings in revenue.
Yep.
You want to go and tell them that you've decided to punt in the season? You want to be the guy?
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't want to be the guy. But what's the number? Like, what would tell you when to do that? They're only 2.5 out, and they're 4 games under 500. That's crazy.
This is what concerns me. I don't think it's a number. I think it's a read on your situation. You have to step back, look at your team, and have enough balls to say, we aren't good enough.
Good luck.
Other teams have done it.
Yeah, not ones that had an owner just spent as much money as this owner spent. Like, good luck.
The Chicago White Sox years ago with Jerry Reinsdorf, they had their famous white flag sale where they just said, we're not going anymore. But
it's not the American League East.
Well, yeah, the American League East is
that's a different animal.
Is even more of a reason to do it. It's even more of a reason to do it. That you're not going to.
It's harder to come back in the American League East. It takes you longer.
Well, yeah.
That's
what I'm saying.
Well,
Gordon Beckham is a White Sox analyst. He's a former infielder. He's going to join us from the what?
You've solved it.
I haven't. I'm not paid to solve it.
Me either.
Nor do I
don't make enough money to even figure that out. 2.5 out, and they're 4 under 500.
Gordon Beckham is the White Sox analyst, former infielder. He's going to join us next. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet. 7:07 will be the first pitch tonight from the Rogers Center as the Jays take on the White Sox, the second of a 3-game series. The Jays, of course, 9-3 winners yesterday over the White Sox. And tonight they are going to face Garrett Crochet, who is in the middle of a 13-inning scoreless streak. And, he's got some really, really impressive numbers in his last 4 starts, a 1.23 ERA, 1.65 opponent's average against, 30 strikeouts, 4 walks. The White Sox are in a world of hurt right now. But Garrett Crochet is certainly not a guy to be overlooked. Gordon Beckham is a White Sox analyst. He's a former MLB infielder, joins us in Blair and Barker. Gordon, thanks so much for joining us today. We trust that you're doing well. Boy, I just going through Garrett Crochet's numbers. This guy's not, as I said, it's not been a great year for the White Sox, but this guy certainly hasn't been a soft touch, has he?
No, he's been absolutely electric. From day one, he started opening day, and we were talking about this a little bit, me and Lynn Casper before the game. He kind of came out of nowhere. In spring training, he was healthy finally from Tommy John. He's back. And then he kind of comes out of nowhere, and they're like, hey, Garrett Crochet is going to be the starter on opening day. And everybody was kind of like, what? It didn't make a whole lot of sense because he kind of came out of nowhere. But when I watched him on opening day, I remember looking to my co-host, Ozzie Guillen, I just said, he looks like an opening day starter. He looks like a guy that should be taking the mound on opening day. He's got that kind of stuff, and he's still learning in a lot of ways. I think that people kind of forget that. He's learning how to be a big league starter, and that takes time. It takes time to get a routine down. It takes time to understand what to do between starts, and he's getting better. He had a couple of rough outings, but he made an adjustment, and he's back doing his thing.
Gordon, if me and you were in the same lineup, we were facing Crochet, and we saw that four-seamer batters were hitting 165 and slugging 286, and the slider, he throws a lot. That's sort of his elimination pitch. How would you tell me to attack him?
How would I tell you? I think, I know how I would just hope and pray.
Well, that might work with this guy too.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my thought. Choke up and just hope the ball that you put in play finds some green grass. No, I mean, I think he does a really good job of pitching, like all lefties that are effective. They do a good job of pitching inside and establishing the inside part of the plate to righties, and then throws that nasty slider off of that, right? But if I'm facing him, I'm trying to look out over the plate. I want to make sure that he can throw a fastball in for a strike without me giving him the opportunity to make me ground out weakly for one of those pitches. So a lot of times with his angle, with his release point, his angle into righties makes it just more difficult than normal. And then if you're conscious about that inside third of part of the plate, that's what opens you up to every other pitch in his arsenal, right? Slider down and in, a backdoor slider, a fastball away. All three of those pitches get you out at that point. So I would have to think, look out over the plate for a fastball to drive back up the middle the other way.
How did the White Sox organization make the White Sox lineup better?
Well, I think, I think that when you start talking about how do you make the White Sox lineup better, you got to think about timeline. The timeline is not now for them to basically go out and make that happen. I think that they've done that to an extent with bringing in Pham. I mean, he's been he's played great, and he's also, great in the clubhouse with his intensity. So that has helped. And it's going to help when Robert gets back. I mean, you think about having Tommy Pham and Robert in the lineup here. Robert's, maybe 10 days away, 2 weeks away. That's a big deal. And then add Moncada, who may not have had the best couple years moving into this season, but he was supposed to be a guy. He's supposed to be a guy that can change the scoreboard, and he's been out. So. How do you make it better? I think adding Robert would be a big deal. And then they're going to have to make some trades. They're going to have to figure out what the next wave of kids to be in that lineup is going to be. I think Corey Lee has been a really positive part of the lineup, but their position players are not like they're pitching in the minor leagues. So they're going to have to find a way to draft, in my opinion, college hitters. Guys, I would draft college hitters in the first 2 or 3 rounds just to make sure you have some guys that can get up there relatively quickly and help your team.
Yeah, that's Kevin kind of asked the question I was going to ask about sort of how do you sell this team? How do you sell the White Sox to fans? Because it seems as if it's just a real tough road to hoe right now for this organization. I don't know how. I don't know how you get better. And I think you're probably right. There has to be. It's great to sit here and say, and we've done this in Toronto. It's great to sit here and say, well, trade for this, trade for that, trade for this, trade for that. But the first thing you have to do is have some sort of inner improvement to stabilize things, right? That's what you need to do and get a read on what your team is when it is healthy. I think you have to do that before you start pivoting to deals.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, how much depth they have at the position player level, in the minor leagues that are going to be impact players. Yes, they've got Edgar Cuero, who's a catcher and has a chance to be really good. And they've got some other bats, and I'm not thinking of them all right now. But how you really make a team better is through the draft and through your international signings. That's really the only way to do it in the long term, because even if you're just short term going out and buying players and getting guys and not developing them, yeah, that's fine. But the White Sox are going to have to find a way to develop players a little bit better. And I think it all starts with the draft. I think as they start drafting better the last few years, they seem to have hit on a few of these guys, or at least in theory, moving forward, they've got some guys that they're excited about. And, I forgot to mention Colson Montgomery, who's going to be a big leaguer one day, and he's going to be at a minimum a shortstop to start and might move to third one day. But he's a top prospect, and for a reason, left-handed swinging infielder, and he's a big kid. So that would probably help the lineup too. I mean, the Young has done great for what they've asked him to do, but I think ultimately the lineup will go with Colson Montgomery. If Chris Getz wants to bring him up into this. I mean, that's another thing is, like, do you bring Colson Montgomery? Do you bring your prospects up right now?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not right now, but even in the season, do you bring them up to be on a team that is going to be in last place and might have the worst record in the big leagues,
No, that's,
I don't know.
Kevin and I, we talked about this. It's one of the things I know when J.P. Ricciardi was GM here, they used to talk about that. Okay, it's great. Bring the prospect up. Well, what are you bringing him up into? Right.
Right.
And of course, I made this case with Orelvis Martinez. Doesn't matter whatever anybody says. If the Jays brought up Orelvis Martinez tonight, people would think they're bringing him up to save the season because that's the way people are. It doesn't matter what the general manager says or the manager says. People are going to say they're bringing up their top prospect to try to save the season. And I think you're 100% right there. There's a certain environment you want to bring a guy into, but organizations have always dealt with that, right? That's one of the eternal questions. Hey, I saw Eloy Jimenez in right field the other day. Now against the Yankees. Now, my understanding, where is this going? Because does he want to go back in the outfield? Does he prefer DHing? Because I look at a guy like that, and I don't know, maybe he's a guy you get something for in a trade, or maybe he's a guy you want to build around. But if you show that he's willing to play the outfield or can play the outfield, that might maximize his value a little more, no?
Yeah, I think it might. I mean, obviously, Eloy can go out and play right field or left field. I mean, I don't think that there's any doubt he can go out and play it. I just think if you're talking about getting the maximum amount of value in defensive value,
right,
you're not starting him over the guys we have. And I think any team that were to want to take Eloy, I think that they could easily put him out there for a game, 2 games, a 3-game set here and there. And he's not gonna do something that's gonna ruin the game for you. I do think that he likes playing outfield because it just reminds him of being a kid, right? I mean, when you were playing the field, you didn't just DH. Being a DH is difficult. So I think he would prefer to be out there more often. It's just what's best for the team might not be what's best for him.
Where does Andrew Vaughn fit in all this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Andrew's really started to hit the ball well over the last, week, 2 weeks. He's hit the ball hard, and he's hit a lot of balls hard that have been caught. So, but he's getting better right now, and I think it's a wait-and-see type of thing, right? The last 3 years, he had basically no minor league time, okay? And he has steadily gotten better in terms of his numbers every year. So there is a regression right now, but I wonder what that's going to look like at the end of the year. It might be worse than what he's been doing. He might regress a little bit based on the start of the season, but he started to hit the ball a little bit better, but it still looks like he's trying to find it. I remember a lot of struggling at the beginning of the season, and even when you get hot and they're not all falling, you always kind of remember how you started that season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never ideal to start the way he has, but he's a pretty chill guy, and he's pretty confident in who he is, and he knows he's getting better right now. He's just got to, I tell people all the time, just keep going, because that's the only thing you can do in this game. All you do is just keep showing up and keep putting in the work, and try to cut the cord in terms of the past. And if you can do that, he'll stay for a long time. But definitely, he's been grinding. That's for sure.
Yep.
Gordon, really good of you to do this, man. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. See you.
Take care. Gordon Beckham, White Sox analyst, former infielder. He does a terrific job.
He does.
Love the White Sox. The White Sox TV crew and radio crew are top notch.
Challenging.
It is. I mean, you've got
trying to stay positive.
It's a team with a historically bad record. I didn't realize this about Andrew Vaughn. He had 205 minor league at bats, Kevin. He only played 55 games.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just one of those things you look at. I just thought he played more than that. But that's not much. You forget, right? And then he played 2021. He played 127 games.
Yeah.
They're a frustrating team in some ways because Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, and Andrew Vaughn. There's power there.
Yeah, Roberts looked good on the Blue Jays. Boy, that wouldn't be too shabby standing at center, hitting second or third for the Blue Jays.
No.
He's a 5-tool guy. Yeah, look, I just don't. If you're a young guy, you're trying to establish yourself. How hard is it to do it on a really bad team? Knowing you're going to show up and get your tail kicked every day. Like, that can't be the easiest thing to do. Even if you're standing on the mound, right? They got some decent pitching. Like, that can't be the easiest thing to do is show up and just
I got to think, too.
Get beat to death. Like, that can't be easy. I mean, it's hard to write. It's even hard. You watch the Blue Jays. They were struggling and fighting and clawing and trying everything off the field, and it just wasn't translating. Imagine this.
Well, there's also, there's questions percolating in the back about Jerry Reinsdorf and new stadium and things of this nature. And it's, it's a difficult time. And then, of course, Dylan Cease gets traded. I don't know where this organization goes. And the thing is, the Central's not a joke anymore.
Nope.
And it's probably not going to be a joke. I'm not saying that both Kansas City and Detroit, they're going to have a hiccup. Because everybody has a hiccup. But they've got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
They got the right building blocks in place. Minnesota's always Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right? You know what? They're probably not going to fall off the cliff. They're going to figure out a way to do it. I mean, all of a sudden, that's a division where time's a waste.
But let's be realistic. You're not winning that division with 100 wins. You're doing it with 90-ish, low 90s wins, right? It's not like you can't have a bad season, trying to figure out your organization and still be relevant trying to do it, right?
But my point is, that's the way it is right now.
Yeah.
There's every chance that Kansas City gets better. There's every chance that Detroit gets better.
Maybe trying to be 100-win teams. Like, there's still, to your point, there's going to be competition. It's getting greater in that division, right? There's no, one team that you're just going to beat up all the time, and it's win day all the time. So to your point there, that makes sense. But I just don't. Sometimes you look at it's like the Rockies. Where the heck the Rockies going? Like, it's like the White Sox. Where the White Sox going? Like, it's sometimes I think you could just look at an organization and be like, man, that just what? Like, you just have no idea. So it's Luis Roberts. So if you're a GM, you might be taking a run at that. You can keep him on the field and DH him some and play him in center and play him maybe move him around the outfield. Boy, I tell you what,
I take a look at Eloy Jimenez as well. I mean, he's not old. He's not old,
man.
But
he wouldn't be my first choice.
Well, no, I'm not saying he'd be my first. Clearly, I'd rather have Luis Robert.
Yeah,
of all of them, but it's there. There are. I really wonder. I understand Rob Manfred has to be kind of careful when he says stuff, and every year there are no hopers, but I look at the Marlins. And at least the Marlins are being upfront about it.
Yeah. We're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
Don't even bother. Get back to us in 2027. We're done. Not only are we done this year, we're done next year as well. But I look at the White Sox. I look at the Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
Oakland's a completely different
Cardinals.
situation.
They're the Cardinals in there.
The Cardinal, but I mean the Cardinals.
Organizationally, there's something up there.
Yeah, but if I say to you, you know what, Kevin, the Cardinals could turn it around next year, you'd go, okay, I can see that.
Who's the GM and president would be the first question I'd ask.
Fine, but but it's the Cardinals, and they'll make a move.
It used to be the Cardinals.
They'll make a move. The Rockies have been like this for forever, and as I said, Chicago is. And I thought when Rick Hahn was their general manager, I thought he did a really good job in the Chris Sale trade. It looked like they got some guys that were going to help them,
mm-hmm.
but for whatever reason, it just didn't. It just didn't come together for them. And I will go to my grave. I'll go to my grave thinking that bringing Tony La Russa in was absolutely the worst thing that organization.
You could argue
that organization did. I just think that there was, and again, that's Jerry Reinsdorf. But I think that that just kind of it set them back.
It did.
It set them back.
Yeah,
and I think it created a situation where I mean, this is no secret. You talk to people. There were a lot of issues in that clubhouse. I mean, Tony, God love him, just wasn't. I mean, the game had kind of passed him by, and that team had an opportunity, and they let it slip through their hands.
I would assume if you're a manager, you probably shouldn't ask fans, "What would you do?" and then actually do what they say.
Ask the reporters. But, don't bother asking. Don't bother asking the fans. I just want to touch on this because our producer Mark Boffo did such a good job printing it off. Mark Feinstein. No, Boffo, don't run.
Way.
No, Mark Feinstein event. We got to at least mention this. MLB.com, who does regularly takes a look at what baseball executives are thinking. Asked baseball executives around the game a couple of questions. One is the likelihood of a Juan Soto extension, but the other was Bo Bichette and Vladimir Jr. on the block. And he quotes one executive as saying, "I don't think they're opposed to it." That's trading these guys. They've talked to teams about it. The asks were ridiculous, but I think they're going to try to retool a lot, and using those guys to get pieces may be the way to do it. Of course, both Bichette and Guerrero are slated to become free agents after the 2025 season. But this sent a bit of a shiver down my spine a little bit. And I know, and listen, and for those of you out there wondering, Mark Feinstein is really well sourced. He doesn't throw stuff against the wall. Quote, "Neither of them are off to great starts, but other teams might view them as change of scenery guys."
Absolutely.
An NL executive said, "Everyone knows what these guys can do, but that roster just might just need a change." See, the change of scenery thing scares the snot out of me.
Why? They've had the
into
conversation out loud. They've told everybody.
That gets into the club happy camper thing. We're all in this together, and everybody.
I told you, take it from a guy that's been in clubhouses. I can tell you that's rarely the case.
And if it's a change of scenery thing,
yeah, I mean,
quite often it's hard to.
Every once in a while, what you're selling, they ain't a buying. Okay, so you just need to.
Anyhow,
yeah,
I think it's interesting that you've got an executive, and again, I trust Mark. I know Mark.
Sure.
I trust Mark.
Yeah,
and it's not entirely out of the. I mean, we know there was some talk in the offseason about Vladdy with the Padres. I don't know how serious it was, but there was some talk in the offseason about that, and it may have been started by the Padres more than the Blue Jays. But it's not out of the question that other executives will look at these guys and see them as change of scenery guys.
Yeah,
boy, if that's the case. That's not what you want to hear.
Well, every once in a while, as a player, you just get tired of hearing what they're selling. I've been there. Not at this level, and not. Well, I have been at this level, and not where I've been trying to carry a team in a country for long periods of time. I've never been there, but I've been where I'm just tired of hearing a hitting coach tell me because boy, I don't speak that language.
All right, that is it for us.
Big boom,
and pregame is next. They'll take you right up to first pitch at 7:07 on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. Lucky you. Blair and Barker will be around following the game.
Winning edition!
Winning edition of Blue Jays Talk. I got a feeling that Barker's Jays may string together 3 wins in a row. And anyhow, we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll be back tomorrow as well. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us.